Of course, a lot of us here tonight were at the launch on the 19th of March and saw the activation there and the presentation with the hands on the Opera House. It was a fantastic evening. Can I welcome you all here this evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak and certainly be the MC for tonight. So bad luck, you're stuck with me. My name is John McGuire, and someone likes me. So it's fantastic to be here. Look, I've been lucky enough to be involved with GenerationOne since the launch, and I've been lucky enough also to travel around many parts of Australia, to some of the main capitals, of course, but out through some wonderful country here in New South Wales, Victoria, Western Australia, and South Australia. And it's been just a magnificent experience, meeting lots of people, lots of wonderful people doing, just ordinary people, doing extraordinary things. And our success stories, the Aboriginal people that we've met, and their stories of success and attainment has been marvellous. So it's been fantastic to be part of that. We've now come to the end of that roadshow and, of course, a finale here this evening. Can I pay my respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation? Ngan Jurpin, ngan Nichin Yinin, Gadigal Eora Buja. Buja Balan Murt Wang in Yak in Yakura, Balan Buja Boy. Thanked Michael and his people, the Gadigal of the Eora Nation, for having me on their land that is important to them, land that their old people walked on and talked on a long time ago. Their land will always be sacred. So I would like to thank everyone for coming along this evening, and please feel free to come in closer. It's pretty cold out there. Join us and move in a little bit closer, please. As I mentioned before, the launch happened 3 months ago, actually beginning right here in Redfern in the Yarmadian Hospitality Training Centre. So it happened just down the street, and that was our first activation, which included leading members of the community, including the Prime Minister, and committing to end Indigenous disparity in this generation. As you all may or may not know, the National Centre for Indigenous Excellence only opened in January this year and is actually the site of the old Redfern Public School. So it is entirely fitting that this site was redeveloped to the National Centre for Indigenous Excellence, which is as an environment of learning and opportunity, which is fostering talent and paving the way for bright futures for our young people. This centre is the first of its kind in Australia and is a hub for the personal development of some of our nation's best and brightest young Aboriginal people. Tonight we have 90 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander under 15 and under 16 boys from the northern New South Wales who are working with the Lloyd McDermott Rugby Development Team Incorporated in association with the New South Wales Rugby Union. Can I welcome those lads? We also have many local organisations here who are working in this space. Can I just mention them briefly? Tribal Warriors, Australian Indigenous Mentoring Experience, AIM of course, who you have just heard from, the YMCA, the National Aboriginal Sporting Chants Academy. So they are all with us this evening. NASCA, NASCA, NIDA of course, Lloyd McDermott Rugby Development Team, who I just mentioned, the Exodus Foundation, and many, many more. We also have some wonderful and inspiring community leaders here, and I thank them for all their support over the last 3 or 4 months. One of whom I would like to mention is Kyra Kam Singh, who is a local Redfern woman who I am pleased to announce is now coming across to work at GenerationOne as a research advisor. So welcome on board, Kyra. Generation One is looking forward to continue the work with all of you so we can end the disparity in this generation, our generation. The first step is to sign up to be part of the Generation for Change, which you can do by putting your name on a hand and putting it on the activation wall just up the back here. Before we go, I would also like to play and say a huge thanks to Auntie Beryl, of whom the team from Yama Dian is here, and for their hospitality tonight. And of course, we've experienced the wonderful food that they have prepared before. So, and we've heard too heavily on short-term handouts, failing to see that only removed incentive from people and communities is in the short term while destabilising them in the long term. We all know it's a problem that cannot be fixed in a day. This is Generation One, so this just keeps being put off. Another day, another year, another lost generation. We've paralysed ourselves by staring at the scale of the task, not focusing on our collective power. So right now we need to take a stand. Generation One will bring everyone together, from businesses to Indigenous leaders to everyday Australians, and end Indigenous disparity in this generation. But it's not going to happen because I decided to do something. It's only going to happen if you stand up and take action. Some of our very powerful words, and that is what Generation One is all about, taking action to end the disparity. Since our launch in March, our team, and can I make mention of them, Tanya Major, Jack Manning-Bancroft, myself, and all the guys who've been involved in Generation One, all of the crew, have travelled around 60 locations across this great nation. From Carnarvon to Coffs Harbour, Port Augusta to Darwin, Shepparton to Halls Creek, and many, many more places in between. We have engaged with thousands of inspiring Australians like yourselves who are doing such great work across this great country to end the disparity through education, training, mentoring, and employment. So since March, our network of supporters have grown to around 40,000 people, which has been fantastic. This demonstrates that there is clearly a mood for change, a movement for good people across Australia who understand we will never end the disparity between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians unless there is education that prepares you for life, training specific for guaranteed jobs, mentoring that gets results, and employment that lasts. And Millie mentioned that just a moment ago. And I would like to read you an excerpt from a blog written by our founder, Andrew Forrest, which I think sums up what Generation One is all about. Generation One isn't a charitable impulse, rather it's an acknowledgement that we could do so much better. I know with absolute confidence from my personal experiences that Indigenous Australians have as much ability, they work as hard and provide as much value to a business or a classroom as anyone else. So right now we need to take a stand. Generation One will bring everyone together, from businesses to Indigenous leaders to everyday Australians, and end Indigenous disparity in this generation. But it's not going to happen because I decided to do something. It's only going to happen if you stand up and take action. So some very powerful words, but that is what Generation One is all about, taking action to end the disparity. That action could include seeking out a mentoring opportunity, commit an Indigenous job through the Australian Employment Covenant so school kids see their education as a pathway to a better future. If you are an employee, sign up to be a workplace buddy to an Indigenous person. Support our kids to finish school and go on to follow their dreams. Push to ensure training leads to a real job, not just training for training's sake. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to be part of Generation One. We have seen some wonderful results. We've had some fantastic